Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
Team USA looks to increase its medal count this afternoon, specifically in the gold category. A look at a few of the competitions we're keeping a close eye on at this hour.
And it's a bright day out here on the WRAL weather patio, but we do have storms coming later, and this includes the threat for severe storms. I'll have a closer look at this and a tropical system we're watching coming up.
A defense attorney tells WRAL all 38 people charged for their actions during protests on UNC Chapel Hill's campus months ago have been offered plea deals. Good afternoon to you. I'm Jeff Hogan.
And I'm Renee Chu. Thanks for joining us. Some of those protesters had court appearances in Chapel Hill today. WRAL's Monica Casey was in the courtroom. And Monica, it's up in the air as to whether people in the group will be taking these plea deals.
Yeah, Renee, that's right. This group of protesters has been focused on what they call a collective defense strategy. They gathered here outside the courthouse ahead of this morning's hearing, then going in together, saying they don't want to leave people with more serious charges behind. We spoke with the defense attorney who is part of the team representing these 38 people. She tells me everyone charged faces only misdemeanors, and the pleas on the table range from deferred prosecution to conditional discharge. All of the plea deals involve community service and or court costs and fines.
Despite for our charges to be dropped, we remain focused on the goal of Palestinian liberation, and we hope to leverage our current situation to galvanize further support for our movement, showing the administration that their repression will backfire.
That attorney also tells us not everyone charged is a student, but many are. There are students from Duke, NC State, and Meredith College, along with UNC Chapel Hill. Now, I just spoke with Orange County District Attorney Jeff Neiman about an hour ago. He tells me he believes it's not appropriate to comment on pending cases, but he did emphasize the DA's office looks at every case individually, weighing factors in each one. The next court date for these protesters will be August 26th. In Chapel Hill, Monica Casey, WRAL News.
Another court case. Today, we may get a verdict in the trial of Henderson Atwater. Atwater's accused in a string of pellet gun shootings from 2020 to 2021. He sat in jail for nearly 3 years, maintaining his innocence, and last year his case ended in a mistrial. The state says it's too much of a coincidence Atwater's vehicle was seen at nearly all of these shootings. His attorneys question the quality of the evidence.
A U.S. appeals court today overturned a district court decision that dismissed a federal lawsuit against a Greensboro police officer. The officer is accused of gunning down a black teenager back in August of 2022. WRAL's Ken Smith is here now with more on the court's ruling and to recap what happened. Ken.
Renee, the teen we're talking about is Nasanto Crenshaw. Officer Matthew Sletton is accused of shooting and killing Crenshaw as he tried to get away from a traffic stop in Greensboro back in August 2022. The district court ruled Officer Sletton fired his weapon as Crenshaw drove the car toward him, but the U.S. appeals court determined several shots actually hit the car through the right passenger window and struck Crenshaw from the right. The appeals court found these shots would not have been possible if Officer Sletton had been in the path of that car. Well, the attorneys representing Crenshaw's mother, including civil rights attorney Harry Daniels, says now hopefully Crenshaw's mother could get her day in court and finally get justice for her son's death. WRAL reporter in Fayetteville, Gilbert Bay, is taking a closer look at this case and what today's appeals court ruling means moving forward. Look for new reporting starting on 4 on WRAL News right here on Fox 50.
Been outside, you may have noticed we are warmer today. There are some clouds, you see them behind me, as well as some sun. Expect highs in the upper 80s, and meteorologist Kat Campbell is on the WRAL weather patio with some folks who could experience some showers, maybe even storms today, Kat.
And we're just a couple of hours away from when storm chances start to climb, Jeff. I really think late afternoon into the evening will be our best chance for some scattered storms today. But new since this morning, we were added to the risk for severe storms. The primary threat here would be damaging straight line winds. It's It's a low wind threat, a level 1 out of 5, so it would be isolated severe storms. But notice parts of the North Carolina mountains and South Carolina are now under a level 2 threat for severe storms. And that's all due to this complex of storms you can see off to the northwest already. We even have a severe thunderstorm warning, that yellow box in the mountains. So these storms are what are going to be headed our way later today, and that's why we're concerned about some severe storms mixing in. The other big story we are watching is the possibility of a tropical system to form this weekend in this orange highlighted region. The chance went up today to 60% for that to happen. So let's talk about the potential trajectory. You can see maybe a little bit more of a curve to the north toward the southeast coast, and I think it's looking more likely that this system would take that path. It would need to be a stronger storm to get caught up in the high pressure, steering it to the north and closer to the southeast coast. And a weaker system would move a little farther west into the Gulf. I'll explain a bit more why I think it's more likely it could come closer to the North Carolina or South Carolina coast and when it could develop coming up in just a few minutes.
Former NC State swimmer Catherine Burkhoff has a chance to win gold today in the 100-meter backstroke. The 30-time All-American had the fastest time in the morning heats yesterday in qualifying, third fastest in the semifinals Monday afternoon. The backstroke finals are this afternoon just before 3 o'clock. We wish her luck. And in less than 10 minutes, Team USA's women's gymnastics team will hit the floor for the finals. They are looking to bring home the gold with Simone Biles leading the way. Biles had a bit of a calf tweak in the qualifying round, but trainers say she's 100% ready for the finals. It begins at 12:15 on WRAL.
In tennis, U.S. Open champion Coco Gauff is out of the singles competition at the Olympics. She was defeated in the third round by Croatia's Dana Vekic. Gauff found herself in a nearly identical dispute over a call with a line judge as another player in the French Open semis last month. The number 2 player in the world left the court with tears streaming down her eyes. Gauff will still compete in doubles at the Olympics. Let's take a look now at where the medal count stands. USA leading the pack, 20 total medals. France is holding on to second place with 16 medals, and China and Japan have switched places. China now in third with 14 medals, Japan with 12.
And happening right now in the WRAL Live Center, Tesla has issued a recall for 1.8 million vehicles after reports of the hoods popping open randomly. Tesla said in March began to look at the reports after they started hearing about this in China. Investigations revealed deformed hood latch switches. We're talking about Model 3, S, X, and Y. Investigations again show that those hood latch switches were deformed and the hoods just could pop open. They say only 1% of the vehicles are likely to suffer from this defect. No injuries or deaths have been reported, but the recall is Tesla's 9th of this year.
Durham police are investigating a robbery that left an employee in critical condition. The worker was attacked inside the Lowe's on Fayetteville Road. That's where we find WRL's Brett Neese, who spoke with the store manager there. Brett.
Yeah, Jeff, spoke with them just a few minutes ago inside. They said that they aren't going to be able to release much information out of respect of this employee and their family. But we did just get a massive update from Durham police. They say that the suspect in this case took a sledgehammer out of his cart and hit this employee before stealing a toolkit. Take a look. This is pictures provided to us from Durham police, screenshots from the security video inside this store. It all took place just before 9 p.m. Saturday night. You see those two images there of the person that police are now trying to identify and they are looking for at this point. They tell us that they do have several warrants out on this person. So we're working to learn exactly who that person is. And we're also working to learn the current condition of that employee. Police say that they are in stable condition at this point, but we're hoping to get an update later this afternoon. We'll continue to report on this on our later newscast. Live in Durham, Brett Neese, WRAL News.
The acting Secret Service director says he cannot defend why the roof used by the gunman in the Trump rally shooting was not secured. Lawmakers on Capitol Hill are grilling Ronald Roe as part of their investigation into the attempted assassination of former President Trump. Rebecca Castor reports.
There is no question that this was a monumental failure by the Secret Service. They had one job and they failed.
The interim head of the Secret Service facing a fierce line of questioning at a Senate hearing on the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. Ronald Rowe was thrust into the agency's top position just days ago after former director Kimberly Cheadle resigned following a disastrous House hearing last week where she was unable to provide lawmakers with answers to many of their questions. Rowe looking to avoid a similar outcome.
I've heard your calls for accountability, and I take them very seriously. I cannot understand why there was not better coverage or at least somebody looking at that roofline.
While the acting director provided more answers than his predecessor, there's still a lot of questions, including the gunman's motive. It also seems no agency wants to take the blame for letting the former president take the stage, even though a local SWAT team clocked the shooter as suspicious about 2 hours before shots were fired.
He was identified as being suspicious by local law enforcement.
And nothing happened.
Well, I know that local law enforcement was attempting to locate him.
Should have been somebody in the roof. There should have been communication with the local police, which there wasn't, so that's a bad thing.
That was Rebecca Kester reporting. Tonight, NBC Nightly News has an exclusive one-on-one interview with Attorney General Merrick Garland. Find out his position on the latest legal challenges facing the nation and the Department of Justice's investigation into the assassination attempt on former President Trump. That's tonight on NBC Nightly News following our 6 p.m. news over on WRAL.
The son of former cartel boss Joaquin El Chapo Guzman is set to appear in federal court in Chicago today. Joaquin Guzman Lopez, known as one of the Chapitos, the son of El Chapo, was taken into U.S. custody last week in El Paso, Texas. Federal authorities say Guzman Lopez duped cartel co-founder Ishmael Zambada into getting on a plane under the ruse of visiting northern Mexico to look at real estate. Both face numerous charges, including trafficking fentanyl into the U.S. Today, Governor Roy Cooper will be on the coast to celebrate efforts to preserve natural lands. EPA Administrator Michael Regan will join Cooper for the event. The money for this project comes from federal funding from the EPA's Climate Pollution Grant Program. The Governor, Regan, and other state lawmakers will talk about it at an event at 2:30 this afternoon in Brunswick County. Next at noon, a crane crashes into a home in upstate New York. The work that was being done when that accident happened.
Also using artificial intelligence to predict wildfires. How experts say the technology could help save lives.
Plus at 12:30, how is the presidential race looking for the front runners? New polling numbers as the Trump and Harris campaigns are out on the trail.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.
A window washer might consider keeping his feet on the ground for a little while after his harness malfunctioned and it left him dangling 450 feet in the air. This happened around lunchtime Monday. Firefighters arrived on the scene and learned the equipment would not allow the worker to move up or down. A rescuer was lowered from the roof of the 35th floor down to the 33rd floor, allowing him to reach that victim. Crews pulled both men up and into the building safely, and no one was hurt. A couple in upstate New York will have to find temporary housing after a crane crashed into their home. The couple hired a tree removal service to get some of the trees in their backyard out of there. And when suddenly they heard a boom, a loud boom, and that crane had tipped over right onto the home, throwing the operator out to the ground. It took nearly 7 hours for crews to remove the crane from the home. No one was hurt, but the home was seriously damaged.
Take a look at this video. This is the Park Fire, now the 6th largest wildfire in California history. CAL FIRE says it has burned more than 370,000 acres, but crews are just starting to get a handle on it. Researchers there are working to figure out how to use artificial intelligence to predict wildfires. Dominic Garcia explains how the technology could save lives and communities.
Year after year, wildfires have ravaged California.
It was hard to sort of not hear about wildfires in California.
And Asad Oberai isn't even a firefighter. He's a professor of aerospace and engineering at USC, but he thought he and his team could help. He says computer models already exist to try and predict fire movement.
The problem is the things that go into these tools, like things like terrain, the fuel map, what kind of fuel exists, what are the wind conditions, right? These things are very uncertain.
So what his team did was gather historical wildfire data from high-resolution satellite images.
We take the predictions of these wildfire models and we take the measurements of the satellite and we put them together.
Add in a little artificial intelligence.
Now we have a better estimate of where the wildfire is at, how much it is burnt, how much the atmosphere has been heated up by this wildfire. And because of that, we can then make an accurate prediction of where the wildfire is going to go.
Assad says this is not currently being used in the field. They still have a ways to go. But the hope is once it's ready, it'll save firefighters precious moments that can save homes and, more importantly, lives.
How pressed for time and how sort of completely swamped the firefighting apparatus is during wildfire season, right? Like to be able to, I did not appreciate that. I frankly, I had no idea.
That was Dominic Garcia reporting. Several organizations are working to integrate artificial intelligence to help fight fires. It could be ready for public use in the next few years.
At least 73 people are dead after a landslide in southern India. Officials say rescue and relief operations are underway, and they have rescued hundreds of people so far. It is unclear how many others are trapped. That number is in the hundreds, they estimate. Life-threatening flash flooding continues this morning in northern Vermont. As much as 8 inches of rain fell overnight Monday, with more wet weather expected for the state tonight and into tomorrow. That has led to rapid rises in the rivers and streams there, along with several road washouts. National Weather Service reports several swiftwater rescues and evacuations have been conducted, but there are no reports of deaths. And right now, we see the sunny skies behind us, and we had rain yesterday and more on the way today.
That's right. It'll come later in the afternoon. Meteorologist Kat Campbell is tracking that for us, as well as these rising temperatures, and it's sticky out there, Kat.
Yes, it is. I definitely wouldn't have wanted to be out here on the WRAL weather patio at this time yesterday with the rain. The rain holds off a bit until later in the afternoon into the evening. Not everybody's going to see rain. It won't be as widespread as yesterday, but there could be some thunderstorms, perhaps with some damaging wind gusts mixed in during the evening. The other big story is the heat. It is definitely feeling hotter out here on the weather patio today. Whew, we just got a little cloud, and that definitely helps. But we are going to see this ridge of high pressure building over the southern plains. And for us, that puts us on the hot side of things. We're back in the warm sector. It's hotter. It's more humid. The heat index is going to soar into the triple digits once again this week. And high temperatures themselves get near the triple digits by Thursday and Friday. Our forecast high 98 degrees. We've got 90s across the board after today on the 7-day forecast. So the big summer heat is not done with us just yet. It's 86 in the Triangle, feeling like 95 since the dew points are in the 70s again. Feels like 95 in Clinton with an actual temperature of 85. It's a hot one outside today, and the muggy meter, as I mentioned, dew points are in the 70s, and that puts us in the tropical category of the muggy meter, not just in the 70s, but mid 70s. So the air really feels tropical out here. Speaking of the tropics, we talked about this potential system at the top of the newscast. It looks like nothing on satellite right now, but I'll explain why in a moment. Here's our latest thoughts. It wouldn't develop until the weekend. It's got a lot of adversity in its path for now. Models are trending a little bit weaker with a storm and perhaps maybe a little further offshore, which could be good news for us. But we are awaiting tropical model plots. Since this system hasn't developed yet, we can't start those spaghetti models anywhere on our maps just yet. We need some kind of center to form first. The region we're watching for development is going to be close to the Bahamas this weekend. It's about a 60% chance of developing now. Right now, it is stuck in all this brown. Well, what's the brown here? This is Saharan dust. It's dry, dusty air, and tropical systems like moisture. It's what strengthens them, and with this huge plume of dust, it's just not able to develop until it gets into a more favorable region. It should travel west of the dust this weekend and into an area of near record warm ocean temperatures, and that's what's going to open the door for development, and that's just why we've got to wait a little while until it actually begins to come together and develop before we can really solidify a track. Now, the American model is still taking it on the green path, a weaker storm into the Gulf of Mexico, but pretty much every other model capital and the ensembles of the European have been consistent and the path a bit closer to the southeast coast. However, many of them keep it offshore entirely. So it's something we're still going to be watching for you in the coming days. We still have probably about 7 to 8 days before potential impact. So we've got time to track it for you. No need to panic yet. Just want to let you know we've got you covered, and you should be checking in for updates. Mike Mays will have the latest starting at 4 o'clock on WRAL this afternoon. Here comes the heat, 89, not bad today compared to what's on the way. Not only does it get hotter in the afternoons, we've got lows in the upper 70s by Friday and Saturday mornings.
Kat, thanks. President Joe Biden's bid for major Supreme Court reform would make him the first sitting president in generations to back seismic changes to the way the nation's highest court operates. But it faces a lot of obstacles. Coming up at 4, here are some of that pushback.
Plus, Wake County school students are still a month away from the start of the traditional calendar school year, but transportation already seems to be an issue for some. Why parents are concerned bus driver shortages could be affecting them again this year. That's at 6. Still ahead this noon, Delta Airlines suffered tremendous losses during this month's global tech outage, and now it's looking for payback. The legal team the company hopes will help them recoup some cash.
Is it creepy or creative? Meta will soon allow people to make their own doppelganger. How you can use this technology after the break. Inflation in the U.S. has been cooling since hitting a 4-decade high. Record heat is set to drive the cost of fruits and vegetables higher. The Earth experienced the hottest day in recorded history last week. That could mean shoppers will likely end up paying higher prices for fruits and vegetables as farmers shoulder higher growing costs from the heat. Delta Airlines is reportedly seeking compensation from CrowdStrike and Microsoft for that recent tech outage that disrupted flights worldwide. Delta has hired high-profile lawyer David Boyce to seek damages. He is best known for representing the U.S. government in landmark antitrust cases, such as against Microsoft. Delta has canceled more than 6,000 flights since that outage on July 19th, costing it an estimated $350 to $500 million.
Meta plans to offer a new AI tool called Imagine Me that allows users to build their own digital doppelganger. Here's how it works. Users upload a photo of themselves and provide a text-based description of the image you want to create, something like imagine me as a superhero. Meta says AI Studio will start to roll out this to Instagram business account users today and will be made available to all Meta users in the U.S. over the next few weeks. Just in time for back-to-school shopping, Target is giving customers a chance to turn in their old jeans and get a discount on some new ones. The store's first ever denim take-back event will take place August 4th to August 10th. Customers can bring up to 5 denim items in any condition and from any brand. The retailer says the program also helps reduce waste in the nation's landfills.
Lululemon has pulled its new leggings line after it became the target of endless jokes. The $98 breeze-through leggings have been dropped from the website and app following negative reviews. So some reviewers did not like the V-shaped back seam, which they felt was not flattering at all to one's backside. Lululemon says it takes customer feedback seriously and will incorporate it into future designs. This is the latest setback for Lululemon, which has seen stocks fall 50% this year. We're on verdict watch in the trial of a Wake County man accused in a string of pellet shootings.
And nothing is set in stone, but a Harris-Trump debate is still possible in this election cycle. What's holding up the face-off in our next half hour? And here are your winning NC Education Lottery numbers on your screen right now. We'll be right back.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
It is day 2 of deliberations in the trial of Henderson Atwater, the man accused in a string of pellet gun shootings in Holly Springs 4 years ago. Atwater was held in jail for nearly 3 years while he could not make a $1 million bond. And just last year, his case ended in a mistrial. He's now waiting to see how this jury handles his case. WRAL's Sean Gallagher is in the courtroom on verdict watch. Sean, what's the mood?
Yeah, Renee, there's a certain amount of nervousness every time the judge calls everyone back in for the jury to have some questions. And so far, it's only been questions. They still don't have a verdict yet, but they want to see more evidence and see surveillance videos that they already saw. They actually just asked to do that just moments ago, and they'll continue deliberating for at least another half hour before lunch. Now, earlier today, Henderson Atwater walked into the courthouse, possibly for the last time, as a free man. His team maintaining his innocence in this case while they wait for the jury to reach a verdict. This time yesterday, they gave their closing arguments, calling this investigation flawed, while the state claims there are too many coincidences connecting Atwater to these shootings to ignore. Closing arguments did finish yesterday with the state calling Atwater the common denominator across dozens of pellet gun shootings in Holly Springs between 2020 and 2021.
But even if you believe that that was his car on Main Street, can you make out who the driver was? Is there any evidence of that?
Now, we're going on about 6 hours now that the jury has been deliberating this case. And again, they go to lunch in about a half hour. We'll be here on standby until they come to a verdict. In the courthouse, Sean Gallagher, WRAL News.
New polling suggests presidential frontrunners Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump are in a dead heat. Harris is back on the campaign trail, hosting a rally in Georgia tonight and inching closer towards choosing her running mate. Hallie Jackson looks at how the race is shaping up.
The presidential race taking shape this morning with Vice President Kamala Harris set to hit the campaign trail and former President Donald Trump in a new interview backing up his new running mate, Senator J.D. Vance.
He's got tremendous support among a certain group of people that like families.
The former president referencing Vance's controversial comments from 2021, critical of Democrats without children.
We're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies.
He's not against anything, but he loves family.
Mr. Trump also insisting that when he told a Christian audience Friday, you don't have to vote again in 4 years, he was not alluding to the end of elections if he wins, as some Democrats have suggested.
I said to the Christians in the room, don't worry about the future. You have to vote on November 5th. After that, you don't have to worry about voting anymore. I don't care, because we're going to fix it. The country will be fixed.
And the former president suggesting he may be ready to debate Vice President Harris.
I want to do a debate, and now people know who she is. She's a radical left lunatic. So the answer is yes, but I can also make a case for not doing it.
Harris has said she's ready to debate Mr. Trump. For her part, the vice president's focusing on reproductive rights, looking to link Mr. Trump to Iowa's new restrictions on abortion after 6 weeks.
Which makes Iowa the 22nd state in our country to have a Trump abortion ban.
Behind closed doors, J.D. Vance telling donors that running against Kamala Harris instead of President Biden was a little bit of a political sucker punch, according to a recording obtained by the Washington Post. Vance adding Kamala is a lot younger and obviously not struggling in the same ways that Joe Biden did. A Vance spokesperson saying Harris's, quote, far left ideas are even more radioactive than Joe Biden. Harris is also set to decide on a running mate by the middle of next week. And this morning, one major contender out. North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper withdrawing his name from consideration overnight.
It was Hallie Jackson reporting. Governor Roy Cooper had been considered one of the top contenders as a running mate, but he says he plans to focus on running for the U.S. Senate. There's no shortage of possibilities. The Harris campaign is expected to choose a running mate by August 7th.
Former President Donald Trump will make an appearance at the National Association of Black Journalists Convention in Chicago tomorrow. NABJ is one of the largest conventions in the country. The Trump campaign says he will engage in a Q&A with political journalists there. They will concentrate on the most pressing issues facing the black community. Vice President Kamala Harris was also invited. NABJ says her confirmation is pending. Happening today, the Senate is expected to pass legislation designed to protect children's privacy online. The Kids Online Safety Act will ban companies from collecting personal information from people between 13 and 16 years of age without their consent. The bill also bans targeted advertising to children and teens and creates an eraser button for parents and kids to eliminate personal information online. The legislation still needs to be voted on by the House.
You can share your thoughts today about 3 new park projects in southeast Raleigh. The city is hosting an open house event tonight to talk about the new projects. Designers will talk about their plans for the John Chavis Aquatic Center and Heritage Plaza, John P. Top Green Community Center, and South Park Heritage Walk. City leaders say this will help them decide how to move forward with these projects.
One step in many for community engagement and open houses. We also have a community advisory group. So collectively, these comments will be shared and shared forward to our Parks Board, and then eventually the City Council will make a recommendation on how to proceed.
You can drop in for that open house at John Chavis Memorial Park anytime today between 4 and 7 o'clock tonight.
Too much sugar can have you packing on unwanted pounds. How you can get your sweet fix and why you should steer clear of artificial sweeteners.
And no cardboard cutouts in the stands at this year's Olympics. How real fans are creating a fun atmosphere at the Paris Games. You can keep up with WRAL News on the go with the WRAL News app. Get the top stories, weather forecasts, and watch live newscasts right on your favorite device.
Losing weight doesn't just happen in the gym. It begins in the kitchen. A balanced diet low in sodium and sugar is key to success. But what do you do if you have a sweet tooth? A registered dietitian recommends buying foods that have the sweetness factor and are also nutrient dense. Some examples include fruits like pineapple, cherries, and strawberries. If you're looking for an alternative to sugar, honey and maple syrup can be good choices. The key is moderation.
If we get to the point where now we're adding honey to our fruits or we're adding maple syrup always to our oatmeal, then maybe we're getting a little bit too much dependent on that sweet taste and we have to take it down a notch.
You should also watch out for artificial sweeteners. It can be tempting to buy foods with them, but research shows that they actually make you eat more.
Weight loss drugs like Ozempic or Wegovy could help you quit smoking. Researchers examined medical records of 6,000 people who used weight loss drugs and smoked. They found people were less likely to need additional prescriptions to help them quit or treat diseases related to tobacco use. We should point out, though, it's not clear if patients' desire to smoke decreased or if they just stopped seeking treatment. It is an age-old question that scholars, economists, even rappers have debated. Can money buy happiness? I guess it depends on who you ask. Researchers say spending money can bring you a degree of joy, but once the newness wears off, you go back to your baseline of happiness after a positive or negative experience. Experts suggest instead of spending money on things, experiences provide a lasting degree of joy.
Fans are back in full force at this year's Olympic Games. Why they say the atmosphere is better than the 2021 and 2022 games.
Plus field trips for shelter dogs, how the new initiative is increasing their chances of getting adopted. A 9-year-old Virginia boy is already the CEO of his own company. 5th grader Kai Walker is the founder and owner of Kai Bears Popcorn. He started the business in May of 2023 with the help of his parents. In just a year, Kai Bears Popcorn and its unique flavors have touched numerous states and been featured at various vendors across the country. Kai wants to use all that he is learning in this process to help other young dreamers start and grow their own business.
My plans were to show other children how to earn money.
The hope and dream is just to get him to a place where he's able to help more children.
And Kai has landed a contract with the University of Richmond, supplying their popcorn for sporting events. You can find the popcorn at KaiBearsPopcorn.com.
A ready base of customers. We all remember how the COVID pandemic forced Tokyo in 2021 and Beijing in 2022 to host their Olympic Games with eerily empty venues. This year, the fans are back and they say it is better than ever. The sights and sounds of Paris are strikingly different than Tokyo. The lines are long, but there's very little complaining. That's because this year's fans are filling the stands. They're chanting, waving their country's flags, and even dancing for their home team.
Like the atmosphere is so much fun, and everybody's so excited for their own sports and their teams to play. And since it's been such a long time, I feel like it's even more exciting now than it was before COVID.
In Tokyo, some athletes even complained that opponents could eavesdrop as masked coaches gave instructions. It was so quiet in there.
Well, now the picture of perfection here, an image of Brazilian surfer Gabriel Medina goes viral. And if you missed it, we've got you covered right here. Medina scored a 9.9 on day 3 of the surfing competition in Tahiti, the highest scoring wave in Olympic history. The result of the score prompted Medina to leap from his surfboard and raise his finger, number 1. The photographer captured the shot as the board flew parallel right to the athlete, tethered to him with his foot strapped there. Medina posted the picture to his Instagram page. It has more than 2.4 million likes. The photographer was in the water there and taking photos of the action. And he took 4 pictures of this. And
got the money shot.
That's one of the ones he got.
It's like he's floating on clouds there.
Great.
Cloud 9 with that awesome score.
that picture's a perfect 10.
Our weather, I don't know how we would rate it because it's getting hotter and stickier. Meteorologist Kat Campbell in the WRAL Severe Weather Center. The ice cream cones will taste good today.
We're tough judges, Kat.
You are. I agree. It's going to be October before I can give our weather a 10 out of 10, I think. But, we're nearing 90 again today. 90 is normal this time of year. In the grand scheme of things, it's not all that bad. This is kind of how it should feel this time of year. But it definitely feels more humid with dew points in the mid-70s outside right now. 86 degrees so far. Still, with all the cloud cover, the fact that we're able to warm up into the upper 80s today is impressive. And we've got some storms on the way later on. And when you look hour by hour at storm chances, I would expect the best chance to come late afternoon through the evening hours. However, none of the models are doing a great job with the timing, and that's why I really opted to use more of those hour-by-hour pops since we hand-tailor those to you here in the WRAL Weather Center. July rainfall, 9.14 inches. The flowers out here in the WRAL Azalea Gardens are loving all this rain. I mean, it looks like a tropical garden today. We did have 0.03 inches of rain yesterday. It actually didn't add up to all that much rain in the northwestern part of Wake County near the airport. But bottom line, it's been a very wet month, and we're not done with this pattern just yet. We've got a front to our northwest. It doesn't necessarily get here and pass, but it is going to spark some storms out ahead of it, and that's the complex of storms that we could see arrive here a bit later on today, already making its way into North Carolina at this hour. We have seen some severe thunderstorm warnings develop to our west, closer to the mountains, and we'll watch for that later today. We can't rule out an isolated severe storm. Futurecast, our in-house model, showing some storms around our northwestern counties by 4 or 5 o'clock, and we could see some of these scattered storms move through dinner time and last through about 9 or 10 o'clock. And then after that, I really think our storm chances will begin to go down later on tonight. They may not be this widespread. The thing is, one model a little too underdone, this one may be a bit overdone. Bottom line here, though, be prepared. You may run into some storms this evening. I recommend keeping the WRAL weather app on hand so you can stay prepared, especially pull out the dual Doppler 5000 radar if you do see any towering clouds in the distance. Our ring of fire is the reason why. So high pressure centered over the southern plains is bringing us hot weather this week, humid weather this week, but the upper level flow, the jet stream, is going to steer this system around that ridge and toward North Carolina. So any thunderstorms that develop, those complexes are able to move a bit closer to us here at home. These are always really tricky patterns to follow this time of year because it's not just afternoon and evening storms sometimes. So we'll take it day by day with these storm chances in the days to come. After today's storm chances go down a little bit, it's a 50% chance of storms today, a 40% chance tomorrow, and then a 30% chance on Thursday. Boy, it's going to be hot out here by the end of the week. 98 degrees Thursday and Friday. The humidity is high with lows only dipping into the upper 70s. So that's going to be dangerous heat. We're going to have a tough time cooling off at all overnight. The heat index 105 or higher by the end of the week. We're still in the 90s by the weekend, but maybe not quite as hot. And as I mentioned throughout the newscast, we're keeping an eye on that tropical system. Meteorologist Mike Mays will have some new model data to show you at 4 o'clock on WRAL News.
Animal shelters across the country are taking a different approach to increasing animal adoptions. How field trips are not only helping to clear shelters, but also benefiting their caregivers.
Winning Powerball numbers 11, 27, 30, 33, 44. The Powerball is 16. The multiplier is 3.
As we wrap things up, here's a look at a few of the headlines we're following today.
A defense attorney tells WRAL all 38 people charged in connection to protests on UNC Chapel Hill's campus months ago have been offered plea deals. Many appeared in court today. Not all of them are students, but many are. The defense attorney says they all face misdemeanor charges, and all of the plea deals involve community service or court costs and fines. The next court date for these protesters will be August 26th.
Today, we are awaiting a verdict in the trial of Henderson Atwater. He's accused in a string of pellet gun shootings from 2020 to 2021. He sat in jail for nearly 3 years, maintaining his innocence. Last year, his case ended in a mistrial. The state points to Atwater's car being present at nearly all of the shootings. The defense questions the quality of that evidence.
Former NC State swimmer Catherine Burkhoff has a chance to win gold today in the 100-meter backstroke. The 30-time All-American had the fastest time in the morning preliminary heats yesterday and third fastest in the semifinals Monday afternoon. The backstroke finals are this afternoon at 2:56 p.m.
A new survey says 1 in 6 parents struggle to comfort or communicate with their child. Coming up on WRAL News at 4, we'll tell you how teens want to be supported when they are upset. A unique experience popping up at more shelters across the country is letting volunteers take pups out on field trips.
Yeah, these outings are designed to increase their chances of being adopted while increasing health benefits for the animals and their temporary caregivers. Ted Linder has this story.
Turns out helping man's best friend can also do a whole lot of good for mankind.
Okay.
A growing number of animal shelters nationwide are encouraging volunteers to take dogs out of their kennels and on special field trips to parks, beaches, and beyond.
Once a week we come up here and we take a dog out for about 2.5 hours.
At St. Hubert's Animal Welfare Center in New Jersey, staff say these outings offer dogs a critical chance to get exposure to the outside world. Volunteers fill out mini report cards after each excursion, giving insight into things like how the pups performed on car rides and their behavior around other dogs and with children. According to data from the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, roughly 3.1 million dogs enter U.S. animal shelters every year. But these doggy field trips can actually help increase a pup's chances of getting a forever home.
Many of the dogs that go on field trips do end up getting adopted, and there's some data that shows that they get adopted at a higher rate.
Animal welfare experts also point to data that shows how breaks from shelter life help to reduce a dog's stress levels. This while also providing emotional wellness to volunteers.
We love animals, and we love helping the animals, and they help us.
And they make you feel good.
Yeah.
I mean, all those kisses she gives you.
St. Hubert's conducts about 2,300 adoptions a year. At least half of those animals went on at least one field trip.
Ted Linder reporting there. What a great program. It's all the time we have here because we're going to watch some gymnastics on WRAL right now. You can get breaking news updates anytime with the WRAL News app.
Yes, cheering on Team USA on their